Enforcer recognized. Greetings, Baron J. Your selected target, that dog, has a crime coefficient of 321, wanted on several counts of murder, theft, and being cute without prior authorization. Enforcement mode has been switched to Lethal Eliminator. You may now execute justice at will.
Hey everybody, it's Baron J. So, Psycho Pass is another work from the pen of Gen Urobuchi, who, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, is a bland, non-descriptive writer with no penchant for anything dark or psychological in any way. I should also mention it's totally not Opposite Day. Or is it just not Opposite Day? Hold on, I can neither confirm nor deny that the current date coincides with Opposite Day. I think that works. He also worked alongside Makoto Fukami for the first season, which is probably a good thing. I think he might need some friends. Anywho, Psycho Pass has been showing up on a lot of people's radar lately due to it showing up on Netflix and others. Now, Psycho Pass 2, which is really just the second season, has finished and will probably end up on there soon. If it hasn't already, I don't know either way. I don't have Netflix. Mainly because their selection is incredibly meh, with a few exceptions. I'd much rather just use Crunchyroll because I want new shit and I want it now, or within an hour of its broadcast in Japan. Psycho Pass, which is a kind of play on the Japanese pronunciation of psychopath, is a psychological crime thriller set in a dystopian society. Oh, by the way, side note, I didn't get the whole psychopath thing until I was halfway through the first season, and man, was my mind blown. And subsequently I realized that sometimes I am a dumb shit. Psycho Pass follows the investigations of an organization called the Public Safety Bureau, who execute the law on behalf of the civil system, a computational judge that serves as a way for this police force to pick out past and future criminals by their rating, known as a crime coefficient, which can be raised or lowered depending on past crimes and by a visible spectrum representation of their stress level known as a hue. The darker the hue, the more likely it is that you'll ask for directions from the guy sitting next to you with a knife. Repeatedly. The Bureau has inspectors who maintain a steadily low crime coefficient to deal with this, and to deal with their subordinates, the enforcers. Enforcers are made up of all these latent criminals who agree to work and try to lighten their hue, or because they get to wield the civil system's prime justice method, the Dominator. A gun that can either stun the target if the coefficient is above a certain level, or kill when it's within the, stabby zone. And in true Urobuchi form, it shoots a poison, which can prevent accidental shootings via an antidote carried within the gun, thus saving the unintended victim, a truly efficient method of crime stopping. Just kidding, they fucking explode. The first few episodes are vignettes of cases that these future detectives take on, but reveal an underlying mystery about the true motives of the show's true antagonist and his plot to overthrow society. So, yeah, needless to say, this is Minority Report, the anime, almost unabashedly so. Psycho Pass has a really attention-grabbing concept, though, and it manages to execute that well, with some minor setbacks. The cast of characters is pretty nice. The two main protagonists, Akane and Shinya, have a nice back and forth as the series progresses, but they never quite manage to go farther than the way they're originally displayed. Akane manages to go through some character development, but in the end, she still kind of fits the goody two-shoes stereotype, but not really because she kind of becomes a badass after a while. Along with her fellow Inspector Genoza, his dad, this guy, this girl, lesbian hacker-sama, and the director, the players here are pretty varied, and there's a good amount of interaction between all of them. I personally really liked Shinya's interaction with Joji, an ex-psychology professor whose ideas can raise people's crime coefficient by questioning the way the mind works, mainly because that's such a cool fucking idea. After the conclusion of the first season, Psycho Pass 2 is a bit more of the same stuff, but delves even further into this dystopian backdrop after a killer is revealed who cannot be analyzed by the civil system, thus sparking another investigation into the past. Spoilers abound here, so all I will tell you is that Urobuchi left after season 1, but the writer this time around is the guy that worked on Nobunaga the Fool and Zankyo no Terror, which were very well received. It doesn't differ vastly from what you've already experienced from season 1, and actually concludes pretty nicely as a result. The action for both series is pretty well done when everybody's not investigating in front of computers. The animation's kinda hit or miss, but at least it's not a fucking slideshow. And the story works well enough to the point that I was along for the ride. But like I mentioned before, the main thing that I couldn't shake with Psycho Pass is believability. The Dominators, while cool as hell, seem like a rather inefficient way to execute crime fighting. For that matter, when you're presented with the civil system's implementation implementation, I for one was curious as to who the hell thought this was a good idea. Granted, being able to catch a killer before it happens is great, but for the most part, there's a lot of unquestioning faith in this system where there really should be in reality. Of course, if you were to question it, you'd probably be dominated on the spot. There's also the matter of pacing. I for one was okay with the vignette cases in the beginning. I like a bit of expository business before shit gets real, but I could see how somebody would say, where the hell is the plot? I was promised plot.
Girl, give me that sweet, delicious plot.
But overall, I had a pretty positive experience with the entirety of Psycho Pass. For a slightly unoriginal yet still cool concept, it works pretty well. I would recommend it if you wanted to find something on Netflix to watch. Now that that's over with, I gotta figure out how to deal with this situation. Theft I can understand, but murder? No. That's a bad dog. Bad.
Oh yeah, girl, here's the end of the video. How about you hit that subscribe button for me? Also, here's my Twitter and my Facebook, just in case you want to see what I'm up to. If you have a suggestion for a show for me to watch, or we could watch together cuddled up on the couch, let me know in the comments. Also, you can get me to say stuff in a funny voice if you really want me to.
And finally, I got your guys' responses last week, and it's overwhelmingly like, yes, we do want a shirt. Please give us shirts. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll put it up. So, here you go. BaronJ.Spreadshirt.com. There you go. That's the thing. You can get shirts there. There's 2 shirts. There's a girls and a boys because plot shirt, and there's also a mug because I said I'd make a mug, and they had one there, and I was like, they actually have a mug. And for the people that were asking about like donations, I still don't feel good about donations. It just really bothers me. But here's another idea. I am a musician. I've made a lot of music in my day. So what if I released like an EP of old songs and stuff that I had, and then I put that on Bandcamp and was just like, all right, here's some music that I made. You can buy it for like $1 a piece or something like that. Here you go. How about that? Does that work for you? Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.